Okay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. I hope you're ready for some lore, because today we have a lot of lore, and this is not just small lore, this is big lore. This is going to be setting the tone for a very long time in World of Warcraft. The fate of the Alliance, of the Horde, of a lot of our main characters, it is all in this video as we explain, react to, break down, and speculate on the end of the Battle for Azeroth war campaign. Okay, so patch 8.2.5 is out, at least in the US realms, and with it we have our whole new storyline, which also includes 2 cinematics, one full big CG one in the in-game style, and then numerous in-game cutscenes.
That's so badass.
All of these come together to give us a very clear picture of the future of the game, as well as basically let us know what the main character motivations are, especially for characters like Sylvanas moving forward.
Yeah,
so
now we really know what she's doing,
it is
right?
pretty much on the eve of battle. Saurfang and Anduin are talking to each other, and Saurfang really is, well, you could say a little bit depressed about the situation, because he's thinking about what he's fighting for. He's thinking about all that, and you know, he's thinking back to a lot of the old days, him and the Horde, and this is somewhat Blizzard being a little bit, well, making him be self-critical of his past. Saurfang was always sort of portrayed to be a very, very loyal Horde character. He'll do anything for the Horde. We saw him partake in the initial stages of Teldrassil in the name of the Horde, and in the cinematic we see him basically say, well, actually, the Horde is pretty much built on evil foundations. He says that basically Sylvanas is a true successor of the Horde, that Sylvanas really is following in the footsteps of Blackhand. He talks about the path of glory and how all of that stuff really is quite terrible and murderous. He talks about the moral rift between the Alliance and the Horde, and he basically says, look, even though the Alliance has done bad things, they're not even comparable. And he basically says that,
oh no, the Alliance done that many bad things. Like, we had like the whole Lich King situation. Yeah, let's see, the Lich King situation and Garithos, that guy was basically just an asshole. I mean, it wasn't really that, like, he was, if you know what he liked, he was an asshole. Illidan? Well, Illidan saved the world, what do you mean? Illidan saved the world, Medivh? Yeah. There is that.
Thrall really wasn't a successor war chief in the Horde. That Thrall was something new, that is what he wants and what's worth fighting for. And Anduin asks him, well, you know, if you think all of this about the Horde's foundations and it being founded on this big, terrible lie, well, you know, what are you fighting for? And then we cut to outside that room. Zekan comes running up and talks about fighting for Orgrimmar, for where his home is. And then Saurfang questions on him again, you know, where is your home? And he responds, Azeroth. And then Jaina pretty much looks over and is like, yeah, my home's Azeroth too. So basically all of our characters band together for Azeroth. And that really is showing the complete end to the Alliance and the Horde war. By this stage, we really are fast allies. So that ends, and then the gameplay starts. The Alliance and Horde players make their way up towards Orgrimmar, they clear the way, and then they are left outside the city gates. Once they reach the gates, we pretty much do the rounds hearing all of the leaders. Of course, notably, Chandra's Feathermoon is there, right? Tyrande isn't, and Anduin actually reveals that Tyrande has not been responding to his mails.
So she went emo and now she's not responding to his text messages. Can you fucking believe that, dude? Yeah, he got friend zoned by Tyrande. That's yeah, left on fucking red. Yeah, well, you know, they're trying to make Anduin more relatable to the players, and so obviously they have to do something like this to make it happen, right? Yeah, he got left on red. No, here's the thing, right? Is they have to make sense of it. Like Tyrande, who's like the most powerful moon priestess of Elune. It's like, it wouldn't make sense if Tyrande was there, because then Tyrande would have beat Sylvanas' ass. Like, let's be honest, right? It's like Jaina, like, it's like nobody else thought to intervene whenever she started using black magic. You know what I mean? But no, because like, it would just, you know, she wouldn't, of course she would. She's like a massively powerful moon priestess. Like, come on, did you ever play Warcraft 3? Like, Tyrande was amazing.
Something that I believe will be quite relevant in the future. We have Gen, you know, being ordered to flank up to the north, and then Gen sort of doesn't really trust Saurfang and co. And Anduin says, no, I've been this far with Saurfang, I trust him, and Gen goes off. And that really is just further solidifying that what we see here, the Alliance and the Horde together, they really are allies, and that war really is over in that sense. So that's what happens if you are a Horde rebel or an Alliance player. But for those players who have been loyal to Sylvanas for all of this time, something quite different happens. You actually do a bit of a tour of the inside of Orgrimmar. You see the goblins preparing new mechs for battle. Of course, the goblins are all talking about getting paid for it. And you also see the Mag'har orcs say that they are here to fight. They will go and, you know, do Sylvanas' bidding. So you're doing that, and then you're asked to suppress the locals, because it turns out some of the Orgrimmar citizens are not particularly pleased at what's going on. And this involves you going to dissenting citizens on Sylvanas' request and, well, murdering them and burning their homes. Very much it is the case that if you chose with Sylvanas, that's what your character is doing, and you are a bit more of a sort of nasty character insofar as World of Warcraft's lore is concerned. Of course, that's not all, though. Eitrig is found. You beat him. He is beat pretty much within an inch of death. The reason why, of course, is that Eitrig is the only one of the Horde rebels who stayed behind in Orgrimmar. He stayed behind wishing to basically look after the civilians. But of course, what actually happened is, as you're going to find out, there's no real battle. The civilians instead, well, they get killed by the player character, and Eitrig gets pretty much beaten to a pulp. So, with all of this establishment, we then go in to the...
That seems like, man, how are you gonna make the player do that motherfucking bullshit? What the hell did Eitrig ever do? Like, he literally, like, half the game, he doesn't even have a dialogue option. He just sits, he's been sitting there for 10 years. Like, why you gotta beat his ass for nothing, man? What the fuck?
Big, expensive CG in the same style as Old Soldier and Lost Honor. And as always, it's absolutely gorgeous. The production quality of Blizzard's full cinematics like that it's pretty much the best in the industry. What they're able to do is rather incredible. So with the Horde rebels and Alliance players outside the gates and the Sylvanas loyalists behind the gates, the cinematic begins. We see the Alliance forces pull up, and that is when Saurfang has a bit of a moment, because he looks at the city, he looks at those defending it, and he still considers them to be the Horde, and he just knows that there's going to be so much death. And then, indeed, Thrall does say, well, all of these loyal soldiers, you know, they've pledged themselves to you, and yeah, a lot of people are going to die. Of course, the whole point is, they all know that, and they think it's the right thing to do. And then Saurfang says, actually, no, maybe there's another way, and he challenges Sylvanas to Mak'gora. Now, that is the orc ritual fight to the death. Hearing this, Sylvanas takes to the field and pretty much just gloats, thinking, you know, why would I fight you? To which Saurfang says, well, you want me to suffer. And that is true. Sylvanas is very angry at him, and with that, it is decided that this fight will actually happen. Thrall, of course, knows that this is never going to work. Obviously, Saurfang is going to be killed by Sylvanas. She simply is more powerful. Like, as much as he is physically strong and maybe wise in some ways, just look at what Sylvanas is. There's no way he could legitimately fight her. And, of course, Saurfang knows this. And when Thrall questions...
People don't want to admit that, but it is completely true. I mean, like... Think of Saurfang as, like, a 72-year-old general. Okay? He's like a 72-year-old man. Of course he's gonna get his fucking ass beat. He's old as fuck, man. Like, he's 82, he's 80 fucking 2 years old. He's 82 years old. And like, yeah, he's gonna get his ass beat. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the way it goes, man. Sylvanas doesn't, yeah, but she's a fucking elf. It doesn't matter. Of course he's gonna lose.
Him, well, Saurfang says that people like them, they can't hide, which is mirroring, of course, the Lost Honor cinematic. Also knowing that there's pretty much no hope in the fight for Saurfang, Anduin walks up to him and pretty much says, well, hey, you know, I set you on this path. And then Saurfang replies that, well, they both knew that it could end up like this. They knew where it would lead. Then Anduin hands him his father's sword. And this is a pretty major thing. I think just seeing Saurfang wielding a traditional orcish axe and probably the most iconic sword of the Alliance, I think there's obvious symbolism in there with the two factions coming together to fight Sylvanas. And boy, do they fight. You'd look at the imposing figure of Saurfang with these two swords, and then you just see Sylvanas pretty much destroy him. And this is, I suppose, it's cinematic technique bleeding in where, you know, she could have very easily killed him in a few seconds, but instead she does stop to monologue. Of course, Sylvanas' big evil monologue doesn't
you gotta
make
the cinematic, gotta drag it out.
And then Saurfang pretty much starts thinking about hope. He gets up, he monologues about hope, about how Sylvanas is trying to destroy it, but it's never actually worked for her. She's always galvanized people against her, and as he's doing this, he's wielding the swords are getting powerful, and he basically begins to win in the battle, even though a very short period of time ago, it pretty much looked like she could have finished him off in about half a second, but he's really hyped up on big epic music and being righteous. Of course, though, this does not end that well for him, because while everything that he says is true about Teldrassil, and how he's pretty much right in throwing back all of Sylvanas' perceived failures at her, well, she's not having any of it. She just screams that the Horde is nothing, that he is nothing. Now, her saying the Horde is nothing quite loudly.
She's just so mad. Like, how's she so mad?
Doesn't really go down that well at all, does it? The camera shows us one of the Horde guards, the one beside her, a Forsaken nonetheless, be clearly perturbed at that. Now, this is important because for the Forsaken, when they were really at some of their lowest, it was the Horde who welcomed them in. So, again, she really has failed in the Forsaken. And I think as we'll see later on when we talk about the epilogue,
that's
her
why she got so
misjudgment
upset
of her own people is really important to this future story. But anyway, it all looks like Saurfang might actually get something. You know, he cuts her in the cheek, and then she just decides to use magic and kill him almost instantly. Now, here's the thing. There's been a lot of speculation about what this magic is. Is it death magic? Is it void magic? We'll get a little bit more into that.
It's dark magic. It says it on the screen, Bellior. What do you mean?
It's going to go. But there's pretty much nothing you can do. Right as Saurfang goes in to finish the job to kill her, while he's mid-screaming for Azeroth, he just gets... I mean, he just gets utterly BTFO'd. Just totally destroyed. Not a thing the guy could have done to get away with that. Sylvanas, of course, knows at this stage. She's just told the Horde that they're nothing. There's obviously nothing that can go well for her here. So what does she do? Well, she pretty much turns to smoke and flies.
And they just let it happen. What's wrong? Oh, come on. Oh, fuck. Oh, man, what's wrong? AFK's literally sitting there. Like, what's Ann doing? Oh, where's Ann? Oh, look, Ann, oh, where she's going? Oh, wow, that's like a star. Ooh. You know, they're all just sitting around. Jaina's somewhere in the background. You know, fucking just letting it happen. They just let her get away.
Team Rocket in, you know, Pokemon, she kind of gets like cast off.
Team Rocket,
yeah. Now,
blasting
this bit's actually a bit more relevant though, because it really does show Sylvanas more to be the, I guess, the sort of sociopathic narcissist that she is. She starts talking basically about how stupid we all are, how, you know, she sees us, she sees it from a high level. We're just all toy soldiers in tin armor, and that we're all actually going to die. So she has her real, true, big, evil monologue, and then she disappears off. And then we're left with Saurfang, and the funeral arrangements are made. Now, the Alliance and Horde epilogue is really just those funeral arrangements. It's really a send-up. It's really a big coming together for all of those characters, with its true goal being to say that no, in World of Warcraft now, the Alliance and the Horde, they are friends. But I think they're pretty careful in not making it seem like the factions are going to merge, because pretty much soon after, like almost at the first opportunity,
I don't know if I'd want to see the factions merge, man. Like, that seems like it's a little bit much. Like, that seems like, I mean, it's World of Warcraft. Like, at a certain point, if you're gonna merge the factions, like, I don't know really if that's a good idea or not. I really don't think so, but, you know, we'll see.
The Alliance characters do all leave. Yes, they exchange a meaningful look, but then they all do leave and they go back to Alliance territory. Yeah. And I think that means it's extremely clear that we're not going to see the factions merge together. I do think it's just that, formally now, we're at peace. And indeed, you do get an achievement, Veteran of the Fourth War. And that really does show you the war's over. There's no more war. It is just the citizens of Azeroth against the existential threats to the planet.
That's a good point.
Established in the very first cutscene. But of course, that's not all, because the real epilogue, the one that contains all of the spicy stuff, that is left for the SYLVANAS loyalists. And they really...
Why they get anything, man? Like, those fucking cucks, dude. Like, who would stay with SYLVANAS? Okay, sorry about that, boys.
Do get quite a big reveal. So, where does SYLVANAS go after she disappears into the stars? Well, actually just up into a cloud. Turns out, the Windrunner Spire in the Ghostlands. And who is that?
Yeah, wow, I wonder, man... What a surprise, she went back to her house. It's like if this was an episode of Cops, or like a police TV show, people would complain that it's unrealistic. Okay, so you have the fucking perpetrator that just commits a goddamn murder, and then the cops don't think, man, we should go back to see if they went to their house. Like, let's go see if he's at his house, man. It's like, that's the first thing they do.
Well, of course, her Dark Rangers know she's there. Nathanos is there. She is there, and the loyal player is also there.
Cuck.
And it really is quite interesting.
The
what
literal
she says.
fucking
First things
cuck.
first, she's clearly not overall that happy with how things have went. This is not her ideal situation. She laments that Saurfang's rebellion did not last longer than it actually did. But then she says that it doesn't really matter because enough people have died. Enough souls have been fed to the hungering darkness. Yes, that certainly is quite the line. She continues up the stairs, and she talks about her pact with Ashara bearing fruit. She says that the Alliance and the Horde together will fight N'Zoth. They'll fight Ashara's master, and that he will line the streets with their corpses, but that he too will serve death. And that is what makes SYLVANAS' plan crystal clear. The entire time, she has just wanted death. And if you think way back to the last time that the Windrunner Spire was very important, it was the Three Sisters comic. And in the comic, the Void Whispers tell Lyria that SYLVANAS fights for the true enemy, that she serves death itself. And, well, we really are seeing that come full circle. SYLVANAS basically is like, yeah, I just wanted to kill everyone and then also enslave N'Zoth. Now, there's so many different ways that we can kind of jump off from this lore here. I think number one, we've got to cover Saurfang's rebellion and how pretty much it seems to have been mostly SYLVANAS' plan. Now,
I don't think SYLVANAS can really control death, you know. Arthur should have it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think SYLVANAS can control death. I mean, she might work towards death or something like that, but is she going to be able to control it? That seems unreasonable. Like, how can you do that?
It could be that sensing that she was going to lose Saurfang, she decided, well, okay, right, I've obviously lost this guy. I've got to play with what I've got. And my goal is as much death as is possible. Therefore, Saurfang will start a rebellion. And that seems to essentially be what went on. She seems to have stoked that rebellion, maybe by taunting him so much, by leaving him to be captured by Anduin. Maybe she really was playing that four-dimensional chess. It certainly does seem to be the case thus far. Now, there are things like her sending assassins to kill Thrall. That's a kind of interesting one. I imagine that she maybe wasn't as worried about Saurfang, but in regards to Thrall, maybe she thought that he really would be a problem, and she actually did.
Well, of course, because Thrall's the greatest shaman that the world has ever seen. Like, everybody wants to talk about Thrall being a bald-ass bitch, right? This old pussy-ass, you know, dumb idiot. But, like, Thrall is he ain't no more? Well, yeah, of course. It's like if you're like a rogue, right? I mean, like maybe you're gonna have trouble against a shaman, you know? And he's a fucking bitch. Dude, Thrall is a badass. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, Thrall, dude, he's a badass warrior, like just in physical combat. He's the greatest shaman of basically all time in Azeroth. Like, he's united all of the clans forward. Thrall is the biggest like, there's a reason why Zach and I rolled on Thrall server in 2006. It's because this dude was the biggest dick in the game. Like, I mean, let's be honest. And then, you know, things, Drekthar, no, dude, Thrall's way more badass, dude. Thrall is fucking way more badass. I mean, listen. Like, Thrall, of course SYLVANAS would be afraid of Thrall. Like, not only is Thrall, like, uniting force for the Horde, much more so than Saurfang, but also Thrall is much more powerful than Saurfang just in general.
did want him to die, because, you know, if her whole plan was that this rebellion is going to happen and then she starts assassinating all the rebellion leaders, that would be quite a glaring plot hole. So I'm assuming this basically just means she wanted Thrall out of the picture, because Thrall is really just less of an element that she can control. And I think she will see Saurfang, she'll see his emotional makeup, his conceptions of honor, and she'll really just see him as being a very easy character to play, or at least to take into account with her plans, as she's always revising them in line with the enemy's moves. I also think there are some psychologically interesting things here. So a lot of the time, sort of narcissistic, sociopath type people, basically people who think they are above other people and that other people are stupid, they will kind of gloat. Like, they'll basically, you know, oh, haha, here I am, I'm so intelligent, I am saying my plan, my evil plan to your face, and you don't even get it, because you're really stupid. You know, you kind of get that character type. You see it a lot in how villains are written, as an example.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Sylvanas, of course, has been doing this throughout the entire expansion.
That's true.
And, yeah, I mean, it pretty much is clear. That's just her character makeup at this stage. She truly does see herself as being, I don't want to say a higher dimensional being, but clearly being several cuts above the rest in terms of overall intelligence. Now, a part of that, she hasn't actually told her plan to anyone else. We actually don't really know her plan as well. All that we know is that she serves death. And this is another important speculation. Death is capitalized. Yeah, and
I thought about that.
You don't capitalize something like death, right? You only capitalize death if you're actually referring to a character. Now, of course, with death, we know there's a lot of speculation there, right? We've got Bomsamdi's boss. We've got all of the work trying to find out who was interfering with Vol'jin's spirit. So it's very clear that there is more to death in the Shadowlands, in my view, than meets the eye. And
because there has to be like an external force here. Because the external force had to have been what caused Vol'jin to name Sylvanas as the war chief. That had to be it. And so I feel like that's a really, really big factor. Okay.
I think it's very obvious how they've set this up. So there's also the fact that Sylvanas has a pact with Ashara. Now we've got to like work out, you know, how much is Sylvanas actually working with Ashara, and how much is that basically just Sylvanas trying to use Ashara to get to N'Zoth. That's, I suppose, one thing that will be explored in the future. Indeed, Ashara is a living character. Blizzard very clearly made the decision not to just burn through those characters, to kill them off. And I think that's very relevant. I think that'll be extremely relevant to the next expansion. Now, there's also the way that Sylvanas wants to have N'Zoth serve death. Now, you might be wondering how she can do that, and I'd say this very simply. Look at Xal'atath and think about the fundamentals, right? Think about the mechanics of how Xal'atath works. So, Xal'atath, it's very heavily implied, right, that Xal'atath was a 5th Azerothian old god, but that Xal'atath was imprisoned in the Black Blade of the Empire by the other old gods. Now, this is very interesting because Xal'atath escapes from the Black Blade. And, of course, the Black Blade makes its way to Sylvanas. Now, also, who was operating in the area when that happened during your 8.1 questing? Oh, the Naga. Who do the Naga serve? Oh, Ashara. There you go, more connections. Now, the whole point of me bringing this up is that Xal'atath can clearly harbor the essence of an old god. And I think this is making it even more crystal clear that Sylvanas pretty much wants to slurp N'Zoth's essence into the Black Blade of the Empire, to imprison N'Zoth, and I suppose what she wants to do after that, we just don't know at that stage. What does serving death mean for Sylvanas? Right now, that is just a bit of her motivation that we're not particularly...
I don't know, like, I mean, that seems... because here's the thing, is, like, N'Zoth is really big. Like, to put it in perspective, right, Ashara, like, that took, like, how many pulls for a method to kill Ashara? N'Zoth just grabbed that bitch the fuck up here. What the hell you doing, you know? Like, that N'Zoth is, like, infinitely powerful old god. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that anybody would be able to, like, overpower N'Zoth. Like, it would not make any sense. Because he's been unleashed in the same way, differently than in Old War, right? With Yogg Saron. With, like, just the prison broke, and then there's, like, just this little bit of him, right? N'Zoth is fucking just chilling, you know? And there's no way Sylvanas can stop that. I mean, he's, like... He's like the size of a continent. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, you're gonna put him in a dagger? Like, that's not gonna happen.
Sure about who is Death. That's another thing that's going to massively change that outcome. So that's basically what's going on with the Sylvanas situation. Is that going to be patch 8.3? Probably not. They seemingly are setting 8.3 up to be, we try to fight N'Zoth and we all die, and then maybe something big happens with Sylvanas as the epilogue of 8.3. At least that's what I'm predicting at the current moment. But of course, there are some other things. Blizzard have talked about how the Alliance were so unified during this expansion, but, you know, that they will have fractures in the future. Now, it's revealed when you go around and talk to the characters, like actually just right-click
He should have told her, please
that,
respond.
Tyrande has not been...
Hasn't responded.
She's not been replying to Anduin's mails. So first of all, that's pretty rude. Second, it clearly shows that she's been consumed by...
Tyrande's a fucking bitch. Like... Tyrande was like one of the... It's like in Warcraft 3, Tyrande was the wise, badass moon priestess of Elune. And in WoW, Tyrande is mad. Like, that's literally... That is the entire character of Tyrande. Mad. Like, and like, so mad that she literally turns emo. She turns emo in, like, 8.1 or whatever the fuck. Come on, like, yeah, of course she's mad. Yeah, I mean, I'd be mad about the tree thing too. But, like, hey, that's the way it goes.
Engines, which is what Anduin suspects. Now, here's the thing, right? This whole situation with the Horde,
no wonder Malfurion
it's been resolved with the new foundational myth
man.
being, you know, the honorable sacrifice of Sarfang.
Do you want that bitch all
but
the time?
What if Tyrande doesn't
Always
accept
mad.
that? Well, then she's not going to accept what has happened with the Horde.
Always mad.
You know, she clearly knows that Sarfang, like, you know, he went through Darkshore. He was partially responsible for Teldrassil. He threw the axe into Malfurion. Just a lot of stuff going on there. And if she has been so consumed by vengeance, well, you know, what's just to the north of Orgrimmar? What's very close to Orgrimmar? Where the Army of the Black Moon is. Who has not been involved in this patch? The Army of the Black Moon. So I'm pretty sure that if you want some more future faction drama, I think you're going to get it, because I think Tyrande is going to do something rather ill-advised. And here's the thing. They've also set up Chandra's Feathermoon to be a real core Night Elf character, almost more so than Tyrande in a way, with her being a lot more involved like later on in this expansion. And that really does set them up to have Tyrande kind of... well, get consumed by vengeance, do a big oopsie, maybe cause a rift in the...
That's great. So then the Horde will have their crazy butch and we'll get ours. You know, everybody like, okay, yeah, you guys have your crazy emo girl. Well, you know what? We've got ours working out too. This is going to be good because, you know, I want to have like, it's perfect. I don't even, yeah, women power, I guess so. Yeah, they're both elves. See? It's because they're elves, guys. Jeez.
The Alliance, maybe Gen would actually join her, because of course Gen lived in Teldrassil for quite some time, and maybe that's what you're going to be dealing with there. And maybe for Anduin, the political problem is going to be he's there with, you know, he's there with his boy Bane and Thrall. They're all good friends, but oh dear, one of Anduin's subordinates has just committed an atrocity against the Horde, who is now his ally. So I think if you want some Alliance Horde drama, you're going to get it, and I think that's what it's going to look like. But anyway, there you have it. That is the end of the Fourth War. Our key takeaways from this are, the Alliance and the Horde are formerly friends, but Tyrande is a massive loose cannon, maybe consumed by vengeance. We don't know what's really going on. As for Sylvanas, just about everything was, I'm not even going to say it was 4-dimensional chess. This is 5th-dimensional chess. Sylvanas is so smart. So smart. That is the plot line they're going with here. She certainly...
She's getting everybody killed. Like...
is driving the lore, and the whole thing was her plan. She wants everyone to die so that she can resurrect them all, so that, well, some sort of end can be served, because she also wants to enslave the old gods. So maybe for Sylvanas, it goes a little bit further than just, oh, I need to kill everyone on the planet in order to, you know, defeat the Void. I mean, hey, technically, if you read Chronicle, one of the Lich King's motivations was actually to protect Azeroth from the Void, because he'd unite the planet in undeath. Now, of course, this whole idea of uniting a planet in anything, be it Undeath or the Iron Horde. This is something Blizzard have tread with, or, you know, they've dabbled with before, so I'd hope that they don't just retread old ground there. But overall, that's what's going on. Your maybe big lore reveal here is the death was capitalized, like the hungering darkness, capital D, death. There's obviously a major new character that's going to be revealed here. I think that's a character that can drive an expansion or two. And I think really going through this, you know, I think you see questionable payoff. I don't think you see a lot of catharsis. I think the way that it was written, I think it was mostly with the goal of fan service around some things that have been popular in the past, and then also establishing these big new things that Blizzard can play around with. As always, they're going to be establishing new mystery boxes, because that is really going to let them drive forward new content. So there you go. That is my breakdown and analysis of this. There is deeper lore sort of dive content that's going to be in the works that I will do in the future, because a lot of this stuff, once I go through Chronicle again and once I go through a lot of other notes that I have, I think we could get into some really interesting deep stuff. But of course, that is it for now. That is our reaction to the end of
all right, loot boxes.
This video. Let me know what your own theories are down below, and with that, I will see you next time.
Okay, so let's think about this. All right. Well, first, let's see what the comments are. Out of all the main characters, Andor was wanted to go Essence of Pandaria seriously. Of course, he'd want to end the conflict permanently. Well, yeah, of course he did, because he spent all of Pandaria sitting up there in the fucking, in the upstairs room with, what's his name, with Raytheon, smoking weed and playing chess. Like, of course he doesn't want to have any war. That was like the best time ever. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, playing chess. Like, come on, guys. Starfang Spyfetch was on cooldown. Ignore Pain CD was on GCD. Well, listen, like, at least it made sense. How would he reflect the spell? He didn't even have a shield, you know what I mean? Totally ruined the mood in Brewfest. Tyrande has no subordinate, maybe technical side of the alliance, but the radical leaders don't have to follow the High King's order. Well, it's like, come on, man, like, just respond, Tyrande. Like, this is like these girls that are like, oh, I don't have to respond to you. You don't own me. Like, just be a reasonable, nice person and respond, because that's what normal people fucking do. Just respond, okay? Just fucking respond. Like, the shamelessness of this is absolutely, it's just so terrible, man. The story's been so ridiculously convoluted. Yeah, I think it has been a little bit complex, but they need to make sense out of all of this, okay? This saw leading to removal of the faction. I think they're going to make 4 factions, and then are going to make them allied with each other. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know, but that's just a possibility. You know what I mean? I have no fucking idea. My man, yeah, dude. 8.25 quest. Yeah, no, I logged on to retail, but honestly, the reason I logged on to retail last night is because I didn't want the guild to usurp me as the guild leader, because I haven't been online in almost a month. So I wanted to make sure I log on so they don't just pull a fast one on me and get me out the guild, you know? And so we gotta make sure that don't happen. So I had to log on.